When the COVID-19 pandemic hit, I noticed an almost immediate influx of virus-themed movies infiltrating the streaming charts as the general population virtually navigated the paradigm shift in our day-to-day lives. The interesting thing about Host is that it's got absolutely nothing to do with the virus, but it is set in this new reality that we are begrudgingly getting used to and gives us a surprisingly fresh insight into what it would feel like to know that the one place we are told is safe is even worse for us than the contiguous crowds in Soho on a Saturday night. D. Christopher here, bringing you new horror-fueled content every single week, giving you my recommendations on what to watch each weekend. It's been a busy couple of weeks here, giving our studio a revamp while trying to keep up with productions. So apologies for being MIA for a week or so, but I had to break my silence to talk briefly about Host. This is the latest Shudder original streaming right now. Before we get into the meat of this feature, be sure to subscribe. I've got a new Fright Fest miniseries beginning this week, which will give you a sneak peek into what's upcoming at Fright Fest Digital 2020, and you will not want to miss it. So if you've been on Twitter, read The Guardian or the New York Times, or perhaps scrolled through any movie blog on the planet, you'll already know that Host is creating quite the buzz for being current, relatable, and quite frankly brilliant, despite being born out of difficult circumstances. Maybe it's the online echo chamber effect that's leading me to seeing all this great press after I tweeted my initial thoughts last week, but in this instance I do not think that that's the case. For a lot of filmmakers and the entertainment industry in general, the global pandemic has led to productions shutting down, projects being cancelled completely, and even completed projects have had their release dates pushed back considerably. This has financially crippled many businesses and many more individuals. It's hard to find any kind of silver lining. But in the constant search for great content, I think that Host could have that platinum shine in the form of blue light and misplaced pixels. Rob Savage, Jed Shepard, and Gemma Hurley used the quarantine as a box around their creativity to force them into finding a clever solution to a global problem. They managed to rope in a bunch of super talented friends and created an hour-long film at distance in the space of just a few weeks, creating more impact than many films that took 10 times as long to make and probably cost 10 times the amount of money. Which, despite my love for beautiful cinematography, proves that story really is king, and that creative restrictions are in fact an artist's best friend. The concept is simple. It can be boiled down to a single sentence. 6 friends hire a medium to lead an online seance via Zoom. The entire movie is filmed via Zoom and is best enjoyed in the dark on a laptop so that you can feel enveloped by the situation. With this malevolent spirit traveling through the ones and zeros, you will find yourself just as on edge as the characters as you hear a crushed water bottle crack in your kitchen from the expansion of hot air within. It is unusually hot here in the UK right now. I did say at the beginning of this video that the story has nothing to do with a virus, beyond, of course, being set in this reality. But perhaps the invisible force that's tormenting the characters could be seen as a metaphor for the invisible force that's tormenting many people around the world right now. And regardless, the underlying subplot of the lockdown gives opportunity for a few relatable gags, as well as very close to home, heart-wrenching moments, especially that in which one of the characters puts on a mask before venturing outside to escape what is going on inside her apartment. Either way, the writers have taken the classic seance gone wrong theme and set it in the relatable virtual happy hour situation that a lot of us have been involved with recently, meeting our friends over Zoom. All of these little subtleties casually remind you that this unexpected series of events really is happening right now, which makes it incredibly powerful. Now, usually at this point, I take some time to critique the cinematography, the look and the feel of the images in the films that I cover. But there isn't really much I can say in that respect about Host. What I can say though is that the look of the film is strongly anchored into how it would actually look if you were staring at the screen and part of the call yourself. The signal dropouts and glitches are there, some extremely clever plays on the features you will find in Zoom, and you'll likely find yourself trying to get as close as possible to the screen to scout for hidden elements in each window as the story progresses. Another thing that really helps the viewer feel a part of this experience is that everything happens in real time, with no soundtrack and what feels like no cuts, just punching into important windows at the appropriate times. Host is as raw and honest as it can be, which makes all of the scares and especially the special effects feel all the more real. This is a genuinely scary movie, which isn't something I find myself being able to say a lot, and this comes from a synergy of many elements. Now, of course, the production notes above do contribute, but the connection that you feel between the characters is a huge player in giving a voyeuristic feeling. It's kind of like looking out the window and seeing a car being stolen, just with slightly more dialogue and slightly less calling of the police. Or perhaps it's closer to overhearing a conversation in the socially distanced line up to the Starbucks counter, as people of course have to raise their voice to be heard by a friend that's a whole 2 meters away. The dialogue is wonderfully performed, and it feels like perhaps a Blair Witch kind of approach was taken, with notes, suggestions and plot points as opposed to a word-by-word script. I don't know for sure, but everything feels off the cuff and how it would be if the call wasn't being recorded and it was genuinely just this group of friends meeting up online. And speaking of this group of friends, there isn't much backstory to speak of. But if there was, I think it would probably ruin the flow of this production. I keep coming back to this, but its strength is in how real it feels. The characters wouldn't be injecting their conversation with random comments about who they are, what they do, and what led to them meeting one another. It doesn't happen in real life, so it doesn't happen in this film. The fact that this film is primarily a sequence of events without some underlying intricate story weaving in and out does make it kind of difficult to talk too much about though, beyond the cosmetics, the concept, and the performance in general. So I'm just going to say one more thing. Watch it at your earliest convenience. Host truly blew me away, and having recommended it personally to a few friends over the last couple of days, I haven't heard anything to the contrary. Host is certainly one of my favourite films of this year so far, and it could well be one of the most important horror films of this period of our lives. So stay safe, stay home, and allow yourself to get infected by a damn good time by watching Host on Shudder as soon as the sun goes down. So that's all from me. Thanks so much for watching, and be sure to check out some other videos while you're here. I have been and ever will be D. Christopher, and I will see you in the next one.